Good morning, and thank you for attending today's free webinar on intelligent leadership. My name is Danette Fenton-Menzies, and I'm the Director of Learning at Magical Learning. I hope you enjoy this particular program. We're going to provide free webinars once a month on different topics to help grow you. And if there are any areas that you're interested in learning on and us running free webinars on, please just email us at learn@magicallearning.com. All right, so this morning's webinar, what we're going to cover, let me just move to the next slide, is firstly, what is intelligent leadership? And then what does it mean when a leader actually derails? And then we're going to look at a couple of concepts, tools and techniques to be able to help you build your intelligent leadership skills. So intelligent leadership is based on a book that was written by a gentleman called John Mattone. John Mattone is one of our business partners, and he is regularly ranked in the top 2 executive coaches in the world. John is a lovely man. He's based in Florida, and we run his intelligent leadership coaching certification here in Australia. Now, what the beauty of his book, The Intelligent Leadership, is that it examines both the internal and external cores of a leader. By doing this, it helps the leader to understand their style, their strengths, and also their weaknesses. So one of the other business partners that we work with, and our coach, Robin Sharma, has a great saying, which is, with better awareness comes better choices, and with better choices comes better results. So one of the things that we love about it is that it allows leaders to become aware, which then helps them to make better choices and obviously get better results. So I'm going to, on the next 2 slides, show you 2 different leaders, and their, in one instance, lack of awareness, and the other, strong awareness, to show you the difference between a mature leader and a leader that is immature in some levels, or some parts of their leadership skills. So the first one comes from Tony Hayward, who is now the ex-CEO of BP. Now, in April of 2010, there was the biggest or largest marine oil spill in history on the Deepwater Horizon, and BP was part of that particular oil rig. Now, when it happened and they were being questioned, Tony Hayward was quoted as saying to his executive team, "What the hell did we do to deserve this?" Now, if you don't know about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, a number of people were killed on the oil rig, and as I said, it was the largest marine oil spill, so it had massive consequences from an environmental perspective. A couple of months after that, he was being questioned about the disaster and what was being done. And he talked a little bit about the people who were suffering and things like that. But then at the end of the quote, he added in the comment, "I want my life back." Now, there's someone who is not necessarily mature in all aspects of their leadership, because he really was focused on himself there rather than the people who were clearly suffering a lot more than him, such as the families of the people who were killed. So this is an example of language that you would see with a leader who is less mature and in the intelligent leadership space needs to work on their leadership skills. Now, the next one is from Jeff Bezos, and he's obviously the founder and CEO of Amazon, and pretty much everyone in the world knows about Amazon. This quote, his 20th anniversary letter to his shareholders, and this has come out very recently. "So you can consider yourself a person of high standards in general and still have debilitating blind spots. There can be whole arenas of endeavour where you may not even know that your standards are low or non-existent, and certainly not world-class. It's critical to be open to that likelihood. Now, what I love about this quote is it shows that this person who is extremely successful, has created an amazing company, is still open to the fact that there's stuff that he doesn't know. And, you know, in any leadership role, we have to be open to what we don't know, because the moment we think we know everything is the moment that our leadership skills start to decline, because we stop questioning things, we stop being curious, and from that we stop learning. So let me share a little bit about John's intelligent leadership model. And I'm going to start with the outer core competencies. So John has identified 9 of these outer core strategic competencies that any great leader who wants to run a really good organisation needs to be good at. So the first of 5 of these are critical thinking, the ability to make great decisions, the ability to think strategically. And that quote that I got from Jeff Bezos, interestingly, at the end of his 20th anniversary letter to the stakeholder, he'd included the first letter that he wrote to his stakeholders. And it showed even back then his strategic thinking in terms of what he could create out of Amazon. So he's a real good example of a person who demonstrates quite a number of these intelligent leadership skills. Another one is emotional intelligence, emotional leadership. So individuals who are not so strong in emotional intelligence tend to find that they will lash out at people, they will blame people, they'll not be very good with their people skills. And yet great organisations need their leaders to be emotionally intelligent. They need to be able to connect with their people and sell that vision and get everyone behind that vision of the organisation. So emotional intelligence is a critical skill, as are obviously communication skills. So if you are a great leader but you're unable to communicate, then it's going to be very difficult to influence and persuade others. The rest of these skills include talent leadership, team leadership, being able to lead during change, and obviously with the rapid amount of change that's happening in our world at the moment, this is a critical skill. For example, until the end of the 19th century, change happened about once every, so our knowledge doubled around change. Our knowledge doubled about once every century. Now it's doubling about once every 13 months. So our ability to be able to lead through dramatic change is obviously extremely important. And the ability to drive full results. So a leader needs to be able to focus the team to ensure that they're able to achieve the results on behalf of the organisation. So if you look at those 9 strategic competencies, there's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done to become strong in all of those 9 core areas. Now, the second part of John's thing, and in fact it really is the first part for all of us, is our inner core. So those outer core competencies are about the skills that we develop over time, but they are actually impacted initially by our inner core. So part of our inner core is our self-concept. So that is who we think we are and what we're able to achieve. It also includes the elements of our character. So those elements of our character include our courage, our loyalty, our diligence, how modest we are, our honesty, and our gratitude. And if you read the books about great leaders, you'll see that they've developed these elements of character so that they are able to stand in discomfort and look to the future, and often to the long-term future, and be able to make decisions when perhaps everyone else around them is saying, no, let's look at the short term, let's not focus on the long-term stuff. So people that come to mind when I think of these elements of character are people like Mother Teresa, also Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, just to name a few, where they've displayed these characters, and they've obviously had to work on them over time to build their character. So if we go back to that previous slide, if we have a strong self-concept of who we are and we've developed our elements of character, that's obviously going to flow out to our outer core competencies, because we will take the time to learn more and become more aware of who we are and how we make our decisions. So other parts of the inner core that are impacted by our both of those last two are things such as our values, our beliefs, our references, the thoughts that we have, our emotions, and also our behavioural tendencies. So obviously behaviour comes from those elements above as well. So one of the things that John does and we do when we run our courses on intelligent leadership is that we map inner cores through map of leadership maturity. And it basically shows the 9 distinct leadership traits that are based on the different ways people think and feel and also behave. So people at different points in that enneagram, so at those different 9 areas, will have a different view of the world and also will interact differently with the world as well. So as I said a little bit earlier, based on Robin Sharma's quote about, first you need to become aware in order to make different choices. To change your behaviour, first you need to become aware of why you act as you do. So if I learn a little bit about who I am, but I don't understand why I do what I do, it's easy to make short-term changes, but when we become stressed, then we're likely to go back to our old ways of doing things. If they're not particularly mature, then that will to derail. So what we see with derailing leaders is they will generally respond immaturely when they are dealing with mounting stress and change. So when a leader is mature, they will be able to navigate stress and change in a way that's healthy for them and also healthy for the teams around them and their organisation. So one of the things that the Intelligent Leadership Program shows us is that if we understand where we're mature, we can work on those areas, but also if we understand where we are currently immature, we can work on those areas that have previously derailed them and put strategies in place so that in future, when we are dealing with lots of stress and change, that we don't get derailed. Now, crises to do with when people fail, you'll often hear people who are less sure how they were assertive, but others around them have regarded what they do as aggressive. So the difference between an aggressive leader and an assertive one is basically who's in control of their emotions. So an aggressive leader will yell at people and often will use language and blame those people. Whereas an assertive leader will be feeling the same emotions, but they'll have taken steps such as deep breathing to be able to control their emotions and to come across in an assertive way, so stating their point without yelling and making others feel threatened. So some of the things you see if a leader is more mature is that they tend to seek a more optimistic view of the world. And what they'll do differently to an immature leader is they'll ask better questions. So rather than saying, why me, a bit like that first quote where I want to get my life back, they will use questions about, okay, what can we learn from this? So they're not looking to blame, they're looking to learn and move forward. What you tend to see with immature leaders is that they tend to use dramatic words, so it's always or it's never. They'll also tend to see success as a temporary state, which means they tend to be more pessimistic in their outlook, and which means they then personalise things and become stuck. So part of that is, if I am to grow myself as an intelligent leader, there are a couple of things I can do. So they include First of all, doing the assessment so that you start to know, well, where is it that I am likely to derail because I'm not so mature in those leadership skills? The other thing is, once you become aware of the areas that you're likely to derail, is putting in place strategies to counteract those derailing tendencies. For example, what you will tend to see with more mature leaders is the way they interpret failure or difficult situations and people is that they'll look for people who've been able to deal with the same sort of circumstances or similar circumstances, and they'll reach out to them. So they might actually interview them, they might read about what they did differently, they might watch videos, they might discuss it with people who know those people, so that they can come up with strategy, what the ways to move forward. Some people will use a coach or a mentor to work on these areas, and I have some specific clients where we work directly on these areas in order to grow their maturity and their leadership skills, and these are often CEOs of organisations. One that I think everyone should be doing, whether they think they're a leader or not, is taking the time each day to reflect and journal how they're going in terms of their life. So some great questions are, and I use these every day. So what do I need to keep doing because it worked really well today? What do I need to stop doing because when I did it today, it didn't work so well? And what do I need to start doing? Now, if I get stuck, I ask, who else has been here before me in this particular circumstance, and what can I learn from them? And that enables me to move forward. Now, I look at all of the successful people, and I can't think of one successful person who doesn't take time to reflect and journal. So if successful leaders do it, then there's a secret in that, meaning that if you're not doing it, please do it. The other thing is take time regularly to seek feedback. So what is it that you're doing well, but also what areas can you improve on? And if we go back to that Jeff Bezos comment, we all have blind spots. And so that awareness by seeking feedback, and obviously you need to seek feedback from people who are brave enough to give you honest feedback as opposed to, oh, look, you're doing great. So seek feedback from them. And then if you feel like a bit hurt after they've given you the feedback, take that as a pretty good indicator that you do have a bit of a blind spot there and that is an area to work on. So thank them, because it's not about them, it's actually about you and your growth. So by utilising these 5 tools and techniques, you'll be able to grow yourself as an intelligent leader. Now, like all good things, it is important to ask yourself good questions. So I would be interested in what is it that you're going to work on in terms of becoming a more intelligent leader. And a great place to start, I would suggest, is have a read of John Matone's Intelligent Leadership book. Obviously, if you're interested in more, then we are running regular workshops on intelligent leadership. Our next one will be in August. So I encourage you also to apply those tools and techniques that we talked about on the last slide. Now, please, we'd love for you to follow us, and we'd love for you to join in on our webinars as we have them each month. As I said, they're free, and we just are putting them out there to help people grow their skills. So our next one will be on the 14th of June at 10:30 a.m, and that's about improving your communication skills. So thank you very much for attending today, and have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you.